Hello everybody, my name is Daniil Dubov and this is my recap of the second game of the World Championship match where Dink played white and he came to the game with a funny surprise. After d4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight f3, d5, which is all normal, he played this funny move h3, which I like, mostly because of the message sent. Like imagine you're on Jan's team, you prepare for the match for half a year, you check all the decent openings, you think you're good to go. It's alright, you managed to out-prepare Dink in the first game, life couldn't be better, and then suddenly h3 happens. And you realize that you're going to spend the whole FIDE, that is tomorrow by the way, by checking all the possible h3s, a3s in any legal position, which is clearly not ideal. Like even if Dink will not stick to the strategy and he will start playing normal openings next, it certainly steals some time from Jan's team. D takes c4 was played, which is reasonable. Jan is basically playing Queen's Gambit accepted with this move h3 played instead of e3. e3, c5, bishop takes c4, a6, castles, knight c6, knight c3 is all normal. So it's basically like exactly the position from Queen's Gambit accepted where h3 is played instead of some normal move like rook e1 or a3. b5, bishop d3, bishop b7, a4, b4, knight e4, knight a5. This is all good. It was a nice sequence of moves from both. Here, Dink played knight takes f6, which is the first critical moment of the game. Knight takes c5 was possible too, which is what engine wants, takes. And this position was analyzed quite deeply during the broadcast by Visha and Irina. So the key idea here is that basically white will always be better after developing the bishop from c1. So let's say if you play queen d5 here there is queen e2, and white wants to play e4 and develop the bishop. So let's say if you take, white plays e4, and then he's much better after bishop e3 next. So here you can also play knight e4, stopping e4, rook d1, queen takes c5, knight g2. Then it's important that white has this little idea with queen g4, and then in a crazy position after knight takes e1, bishop takes b4, queen I guess c6, rook takes e1, castles, and something like bishop e2, bishop f1, white is better. Which is not obvious at all to me, but in fact he is. So the best move instead of queen d5 is actually bishop e4, which is reasonable now that we know that playing e3, e4 is white's main idea. It's easy to explain bishop e4, so black is just trying to stop this. White has to take, queen takes d1, rook takes d1, knight takes e4. So now, once again, this knight is blocking the e-pawn, and if white plays bishop d2, then black can just take, and there is no rook takes d2 because of knight b3. And if we take with the knight, then black just castles long. And eventually the king will come to c6, black will win the pawn back, and he's completely fine. So the best move here is actually c6, after which black plays knight b3, rook b1, rook d8, and it seems he's fine. White cannot really take, as then there will be no way to develop the pieces, so the move here is knight d4, and then after something like king e7, f3, knight c5, black is fine. So anyway, this was knight takes c5, which was reasonable. This would require some accurate moves from black. Dink played knight takes f6 instead, which gave Jan a choice, and Jan played g takes, which once again is easy to explain, as queen takes f6 allows e4. And then, like objectively, the best move here is h6, but you don't prefer this over g takes. So the key line is of course c4, bishop g5, queen g6, bishop c2, all shown by Vichy, by the way. Bishop takes e4. And here white just takes and plays d5. Vichy wanted rook e1, which is also nice, but d5 is even better. And then black basically has to take. And suddenly, even the queen straight doesn't help much black, as this attack is very, very strong. Another funny line here, it's not like really important, but I just wanted to share this, is knight e5. Now, after queen takes g5, bishop takes c4, it's very dangerous for black, so you have to take, and then white plays queen f3. Then once again, like the queen on g6 is under attack, so is the rook, and there is no queen e4 because of queen takes f7. So the only move available here is bishop e4, and then white plays queen e3. And suddenly black queen is trapped, so after queen e5 there is g4. So the queen is trapped, but the nicest thing here is that after bishop d5, knight takes g6, h takes. Despite only having 2 pieces for the queen, black is actually better. So yeah, this was queen takes f6. G takes was played, which is easy to explain. I feel like Vishy started to, to have some positive vibes here, recalling his game against Vladimir Kramnik in their famous match. White got mated there over the G file too. Dink played e4, which is logical. C4, bishop c2, queen c7. It's very easy to play here for black, basically. You move the queen somewhere. By the way, queen b6 was probably a little wiser. Then you castle long, you go rook g8, you try to play f5 and checkmate. Dink played bishop d2, which is, the move itself is fine, although bishop e3 was, I guess, better. But the bad news was that this was actually the start of the wrong plan. So Dink wanted this rook c1, bishop d3 idea, which just doesn't work tactically. So the normal move here would be bishop e3, and then if black castles, then there is queen e1, followed by rook d1, and then eventually white is trying to get d5. This is basically the position Dink was dreaming to get in the game, but he spoiled 2 tempests playing bishop d3, bishop c2 back, which we'll see later. So bishop d2 was okay, rook g8. Once again, if you do this, queen e1 was the move, and then after queen b6, once again, you just try to develop normally. You go rook d1, you go king h1, and then you start fishing for some d5 break. Dink played rook c1 instead, which is, once again, I should give him that. It's all logical, it just doesn't work, but you can see the clear logic. He's trying to get this bishop d3, bishop takes c4, b3, attacking the weak pawn on c4, and he's hoping that after castling long, which black has to play anyway, something will happen along this c file. So he played bishop d3, which is the worst move of the sequence, but again, it's a logical follow-up. You're just trying to play bishop takes c4. So now if black passes, let's say, I don't know, f5, then indeed he can take and play queen b3, and white is actually winning. So king b8 was pretty much forced, and Jan played it. Now rook e1 happened, is suddenly Dink probably realized that he's running out of ideas a little bit. So first of all, you cannot really increase the pressure on the c4 pawn as queen e2 runs into c takes d3. Bishop takes c4, knight takes c4, b3 doesn't work for many reasons. Knight b2 is one of them, but even without knight b2, you can just take and set this complete dominance on the light squares. So this doesn't work. So he played rook e1 to probably try to change the setup and play bishop f1, and then with the bishop on f1, the king would be rather protected, and then once again you can start thinking on how to attack the pawn on c4, which is not going to be easy anyway. But Jan played f5, which is a brilliant move, and now suddenly it turns out that white is not in time for anything, basically. So first of all, you cannot take, as there is rook takes d4, knight takes d4, rook takes g2 check, rook takes f2, queen h2. And this is checkmate. After king f1, there is queen g2, and after king e3, there is bishop h6. All shown by Vishy, clearly. So this doesn't work. You cannot play bishop f1 anymore, as e4 will be hanging. And then, like, you're getting checkmated, and also you're not even sure if you're allowed to play, and your opponent will skip moves. What are your moves exactly? So Dink played bishop c2 here. Yeah, also after king h1, there is this brilliant idea f6, creating the threat of queen g7. So all the black pieces are coming, white is not even material up. This is really, really bad, and objectively white is just lost. Dink played bishop c2, to which Jan replied with knight c6 quickly. Knight c6 is good. He could also play h6, and yeah, this followed by queen g7 was just as strong. Knight c6 is a very good move too, so now you cannot really protect the pawn on d4. If you play bishop e3, then there's f4 followed by knight takes d4. Dink played bishop g5 to at least win some material. Jan played rook takes g5 quickly, knight takes d4, Now you basically have to play queen h5, which was played. Jan played f6. Black had many good moves, like all the way. I want to praise Jan. He played very well. He played quickly, and he did not really, complicate the game. But at the same time, pretty much everything was winning starting from here. He played f6, which is good. Bishop c5 is good. Like pass is probably good. b3 is good. He played f6, which is the most human move. Knight f3. He took on c2 and took on e4, which is also easy to explain. You want to get your material back just in case. Rook d2 happened. Bishop d6. Once again, rook c8 was fine with a simple idea of playing c3, c2, and eventually queening, or even rooking if you want, would be enough. Jan played bishop d6. Now, once again, the problem for white is that you cannot really stop this c3, c2, so let's say knight d4 is only a reasonable move, just trying to attack something at least, but there is just c3, and white is not in time with knight takes e6, so he has to play rook d1, as you cannot leave the d file because of these tactics, which is also bad news. So rook d1 is literally forced, c2, and then you have to take on c2, bishop takes, and let's say after rook c1, black is even in time to avoid the pin with bishop f4, and you have to go rook a1. And this is what engine wants as white, which which clearly indicates his position as being dead lost. Dink played king h1 instead, c3, takes, rook d4, c2, very straightforward and nice play from Jan. Queen h6 and e5. e5 is a nice final touch, so suddenly white rook doesn't have a square, so you cannot go to d2 as then c1 queen is available, so the queen is no longer controlling c1, and there is no other square. So this is why Dink resigned. Very good game from Jan, and Dink has been clearly struggling in the first two games, so I think we have a FIDE tomorrow, which I think is good news for Dink. So let's hope for him to recover and finally show us some good chess.